Welcome. In this video, we'll walk through the pre-lesson preparation component of the intentional planning document support resources. This step ensures that you're entering your field placement lesson with a clear purpose, aligned tools, and intentional support for student learning. So what is pre-lesson preparation? Pre-lesson preparation involves selecting your learning objective, aligning it to standards, identifying academic language, and participating and anticipating what your students will need, and fully participating in each step of that process. A strong anticipatory set and readiness with materials set the tone for everything that follows. So let's just take a moment and review this academic vocabulary. These are things that you're going to be reviewing in your planning course and then again in your methods courses. So these are the essential terms: objective, standard and standard alignment, anticipatory set, academic language, and prerequisite knowledge. All of these are essential elements of planning. So in addition to reviewing these definitions, we are also going to look at a sample. So an objective is a specific measurable statement that defines what a student should know or be able to do after completing a learning experience. This learning goal includes a specific audience, the who, the action, which is typically the depth of knowledge, tied to the depth of knowledge, Webb's depth of knowledge wheel, the content or content and context, what and in which area, and the evaluation, the measurement and alignment that will be achieved within the specific time frame of a lesson. So you'll learn how to write these and analyze these in your planning course, and then you'll also extend that learning in your methods courses. Standard alignment is the process of ensuring that instruction connects directly to state or national standards. The anticipatory set is an activity that engages students and introduces the lesson's topic. Typically, it's something that we maybe don't spend quite as much time teaching our candidates to develop because we really focus on those objectives and those standards. But a strong anticipatory set motivates our students to learn, and it can make that learning relevant for them. So good curriculums have them built in, but we still need to make sure that they're going to be meaningful for our particular group of learners in the classroom right in front of us. Academic language is the vocabulary and language structures needed to engage in classroom tasks and content. And then prerequisite knowledge are the skills or concepts students must know before a new lesson. So let's look at, we're going to go down and actually just kind of look at some of those visual examples, which are going to be right here at the end. I put them at the very end, and I tried to do one per content area. So say your example is to, look at this, the very first one, this ELA example. It's sixth grade, and it's identifying the theme in a short story. So we would want to make sure that we understood what the academic language would be important for our students to know. So definitely theme. We would need to explain what theme is in multiple ways. We would also need to talk about how theme and central idea maybe overlap, but then also what distinguishes them. And then, of course, evidence would be very important because we would need to teach our students to use textual evidence to support their particular claim or theme statement. An anticipatory set that might be useful for this, especially sixth grade, you want to consider your students, is listening to a short podcast clip about life lessons and then giving them an opportunity to discuss in pairs. What was this about? What were some of the central messages that came out of this podcast? So before we even jump into the main thing, we're having them practice what those skills are to something that's relevant, a podcast about life lessons. And then, of course, we want to always think about what materials would be needed. That's part of that pre-lesson preparation. A story text, a theme, maybe a graphic organizer for theme. Are we going to need some sticky notes that our students are going to share and copy things down? So this just kind of gives us an idea. Later, you're welcome to look. I've included some other examples of pre-lesson preparation by content area, just to kind of give you an idea of how these essential terms kind of break down different grade levels and different contents. So before we move on, I want to give one more example. Say your objective is to analyze character development in a short story. So this is ELA again. You'd begin by writing a measurable objective, selecting the aligned ELA standard, identifying words like motivation and trait as academic language, and designing a warm-up where students predict character traits from visuals. All of this happens before you even jump into the teaching, so that when class begins, you're ready to dive in. And of course, this example gave us the objective first and then the standard. Sometimes you work the other way around. You have the standard and then you develop your objectives. There are different ways to do it, and your planning course will talk about those different ways. So the planning template, which is the intentional planning document, helps you organize this prep in one place. What's the goal? What's needed? How am I hooking students into the learning? So let's take just a moment and we're going to look at some of the annotated samples that are provided for you. For this case, we're going to look at the one that's been provided I believe this one is I'm trying to remember, second grade social studies. Here we go. Second grade social studies. And if you will notice, this is a completed, so this one is done for you. This is the template that you'll be using. But I'm just going to scroll down and take a moment to locate some of those vocabulary words we were reviewing. So here we've got assessment. Here we've got standard. And notice our answers or the completion of the template here kind of fleshes that out. Here are those objectives that we were talking about before. And notice alignment. How's it aligned? Now we're digging into the formative assessments. How are we going to know if our students have achieved the objective and they've met the standard? And then we dig into specifically each objective here. So again, this template is a way that you can plan that lesson, really get to understand what your students need before they jump in. So I want to go back to our document here. We reviewed those terms. I want to show you these 3 resources. They're brief, they're not really long, but it gives you a good idea to expand your understanding. How to plan effective lessons might be something very useful for you. So we've got a little bit of narrative that kind of talks us through the essentiality of planning lessons. And then it's going to give you a little scenario here about different teachers and the need to plan lessons. So this scenario then is going to give you some lesson planning workshop, some strategies that were developed through this scenario. And it kind of walks you through some essential bullets of lesson planning. The next resource is the high leverage practices. You will actually have the opportunity to learn all about these high leverage practices from Teaching Works. But this is a pretty good place to kind of start, because as you dig into your planning, you may realize, wow, I haven't built in any opportunities for students to discuss their learning. What are some ways that I could do that? This is a great resource to come and to get ideas for how to do that. Or maybe you realize, man, the curriculum has only one explanation of how to teach this math problem. I know my students are going to need more than that. How can I explain or model content in a way that's meaningful for them? And so this digs into a meaningful strategy for you. So this is kind of like when you're a little bit further along in the planning process. And then this is Vanderbilt Iris Center's lesson plan design. Again, this is a very good, very useful resource. And it really breaks down this pre-lesson preparation, kind of some things that you need to know. What is some information I need to do before I even get started? What curriculum am I using? How much time do I need to use for pacing myself? What's the topic? What are the benchmark or the performance standards that I'm aiming toward? What are the intended learning outcomes? What are students supposed to be able to do at the end of this lesson? Some instructional resources that might be necessary. What do I have access to? Workbooks or perhaps different websites or videos that would be useful for the students. And then this actually digs into the environment itself. Um, if I'm expecting students to get up and move around the classroom, perhaps to maybe do a four corners activity, are they going to actually be able to do that? Is the classroom set up in such a way that facilitates the lessons plans? And then the actual activities, how are they sequenced to support the students' learning and scaffold the learning throughout the lesson? How do I wrap it up? And then do I have an opportunity to actually reflect here on what happened? Am I building in an opportunity to reflect on that? So these are 3 resources that can help you even better understand the pre-lesson preparation. I'm of course going to put that video right here where it says video overview, the video I'm walking you through right now. The link will be right here for you. And as we move on, these are just a few. This is a quick lesson planning template. You, of course, are going to use the intentional planning document for all of your formal lesson plans. But this helps you very, very quickly assess the curriculum, some of the essential pieces that you're going to need to even move forward with the intentional planning document. And then this is a little checklist. How are you doing with your planning? It allows you to self-check how you're doing with your intentional planning document, considering these essential items. I hope this pre-lesson preparation video helps you, and don't be afraid to reach out at any point and ask your professors for help with the intentional planning document or any perhaps terms that you might need a little bit more clarification for. Happy planning, happy teaching.